What is it that makes a sports club, truly iconic? More than just the wins and losses, something bigger.
Like the famous motto, make un club.
Exactly. That feeling. What's the secret sauce that turns a team into, well, a legend, embodying a whole spirit?
And today we're really getting into the story of the club that lives by those words. Football Club Barcelona. Barca. A name everyone knows.
Right. It's a huge story, complex, fascinating. We're going way back, late 19th century, all the way up to, well, now.
And the goal here is basically to give you the highlights, the really interesting bits, the stuff that shaped Barca into what it is.
Without drowning you in every single detail yet. Yeah. A deep dive, but focused.
Exactly. We want you to really get a feel for this global phenomenon.
Okay, so let's kick off right at the start. 1899. Now, it wasn't purely a local Catalan initiative, was it? The roots were more international.
That's one of the first interesting things, yeah. It was truly cosmopolitan, founded by John Gamper, who was Swiss.
Swiss.
Yeah, and he brought together this group with Swiss, Catalan, German, English backgrounds. So right from day one, it had this kind of international flavor, maybe a hint of its future global reach,
And they jumped straight into competing, didn't they? Weren't slow off the mark.
Not at all. They found success pretty quickly in regional cups, like the Campionat de Catalunya and nationally in the Copa del Rey.
First trophy.
That was the Copa Macaya back in 1902, showed their ambition early on.
Now, this Joan Gamper figure sounds absolutely crucial. Not just the founder. He kept stepping back in.
Oh, absolutely pivotal, because by 1908, things weren't looking good. The club was struggling financially, results weren't great. It was genuinely facing, well, disappearing.
Really? That close?
It seems so. And Gamper stepped back in as president, famously said something like, Barcelona cannot die and must not die. If nobody else will try, I'll take responsibility.
Wow. That's commitment.
And he served as president 5 different times. Shows you how dedicated he was.
So what did he actually do then in those crucial moments?
Yeah.
Strategically?
Well, a really key move was getting a proper home ground. In 1909, they got the Camp de la Industria, capacity about 8,000.
Okay, a real base.
Exactly. Gave them stability, a sense of belonging for the fans, helped them grow.
And the badge, the crest we all know.
Yeah.
That came later, too.
Yeah, a year after the stadium, 1910, they actually held a competition to design it.
No way. Who won?
Surprisingly, one of the players, Carles Kamamala, his design had the St. George Cross, the Catalan flag, the club colors. The core elements are still there today.
Incredible. A player designed that iconic crest. And that stadium, Camp de la Industria, seems like it sparked something. More trophies in the 1910s.
Definitely. It became their fortress. They won 3 Campionats de Catalunya, 3 Copas del Rey, and 4 Pyrenees Cups during that time.
Pyrenees Cups, what were they?
Ah, that's interesting. It was like an early international competition for clubs in the region. Teams from Catalonia, the Basque Country, southern France.
So showing ambition beyond just local games even back that way.
Exactly. Testing themselves against top sides nearby. It points to that broader vision.
And culturally, things were shifting too, not just football.
Yeah, this is important. The club gradually started using Catalan as its official language, moving away from Castilian Spanish.
Was that a deliberate statement?
It seems like a gradual evolution, but it definitely cemented the club's role as a symbol of Catalan identity. Supporting Barca became tied up with Catalan heritage for many. That link just got stronger over time.
And they started honoring players too, like testimonial matches.
Yes, the first one was in 1917 for Ramon Torralba, recognizing long service, setting a precedent, really.
All this success, the growing identity, the fan base must have exploded.
It really did. Gamper worked hard on building membership. By 1922, they had over 20,000 members.
Wow, 20,000 back then.
And that financial support allowed them to build and move to a much bigger stadium, less courts. Started at 30,000 capacity, later expanded to 60,000.
Bigger stage, bigger players. Was this their first golden age?
Many consider it that, yeah. They signed the legendary striker Paulinho Alcantara, still 7th on their all-time scoring list. Incredibly.
7th, okay.
And they appointed their first proper full-time manager, Jack Greenwell. This era saw amazing dominance regionally, 9 out of 10 Campionats de Catalunya, plus 2 more Copa del Rey titles.
So this whole Gamper era established them as a powerhouse, tied them to Catalan identity, all driven by him initially.
Pretty much. By the time that initial phase ended, they had, 11 Campionats de Catalunya, 6 Copas del Rey, 4 Pyrenees Cups, a really strong foundation.
But things got more complicated after that, didn't they? Politics started playing a much bigger role.
Oh, absolutely. The 1920s and 30s, that's when politics really starts to intrude directly. massively.
How so? What happened?
Well, 1925 was a flashpoint. During a match, the crowd booed the Spanish Royal March, a protest against Primo de Rivera's dictatorship.
Now the reaction.
Swift and harsh. The authorities closed Lecor Stadium for 6 months, and Gamper forced to resign again.
Wow. Just for jeering. Shows how symbolic the club already was.
Exactly, and how sensitive the regime was to anything Catalan, a really uneasy time.
But football itself was changing too, right? Becoming professional.
Yes. Amidst all this, Barça officially went professional in 1926. The sport was evolving.
I heard about another tribute match for Alcantara. Something about a plane.
Yes, that's a brilliant anecdote. For his testimonial in 1927, a journalist who was also an aviator literally dropped the match ball onto the pitch from his plane to start the game.
You're kidding. That's quite the kickoff.
Memorable, definitely.
And despite all the political turmoil, they still won the very first Spanish league.
They did, yeah, 1929. Shows they still had that competitive edge, even with everything else going on.
But then, tragedy struck with Gamper himself.
Very sad, yes. In 1930, Joan Gamper took his own life. He'd been facing personal and financial troubles. A huge loss for the club he basically built.
And the 1930s just got worse politically, heading towards the Civil War.
Exactly. The club won some regional titles, but the national picture was bleak. Political conflict overshadowed everything. Understandably, people's focus shifted.
The Civil War itself, its impact on Barca sounds horrific. Players fighting, the president assassinated.
It was a devastating period. Some players joined the Republican forces. And then, yes, in August 36, the club president, Josep Sunyol, who was also a prominent Catalan politician, was arrested and killed by Falangist soldiers.
Just assassinated.
He became known as the martyr of Barcelonism, a powerful symbol of that link between the club, Catalan identity, and opposition to fascism.
And wasn't there a tour during the war to Mexico and the U.S.?
Yes, in 1937. On the surface, it was to raise money to keep the club alive, but it was also political.
How so?
They were seen as sort of unofficial ambassadors for the Spanish Republic, drumming up support. It did bring in needed funds, but, well, quite a few players sought asylum afterwards and didn't return. Made things even harder back home.
And the war physically hit the club too. Bombings.
Yeah. In 1938, Barcelona was bombed by Italian planes supporting Franco. One bomb hit the club offices directly. A terrifying reality of the conflict.
Then Franco wins, and the restrictions on Barca sound deliberately targeted.
Absolutely. Franco's regime cracked down hard on any regional identity. For Barca, that meant being forced to change their name to Club de Futbol Barcelona, the Spanish version.
Stripping the Catalan name.
Exactly. And they had to remove the Catalan flag from the crest. Even using the Catalan language at the club was banned. It was a clear attempt to suppress its cultural meaning.
Just incredible pressure. Yet somehow, the club survived and remained that symbol for Catalans.
It's really quite remarkable, a testament to that deep bond. Even under wraps, it represented something vital. A subtle resistance, maybe?
So moving into the post-war Franco era, the politics don't just vanish. That infamous 11-1 loss to Real Madrid in '43.
Ah, yes. The 1943 Copa del Generalissimo semifinal, that game is just loaded with controversy. Barca won the first leg 3-0 at home.
Okay, comfortable lead.
Then they go to Madrid for the second leg at Chamartín, Real's old stadium, and lose 11-1. 11?
11-1.
Well, this is where it gets murky. That result massively fueled the idea of Real Madrid being Franco's team, the regime's team, and Barca being the victims. Sid Lowe's written extensively about how this game really cemented that narrative.
Weren't there stories about the police? Intimidation?
There have always been allegations, yes. Reports from journalists at the time claims that police visited the Barca changing room before the game, made threats.
Really? Direct threats?
That's the allegation. Hard evidence is elusive, but the story persists. And whether it's fully true or not, the sheer scale of that defeat burned the idea of political interference into the minds of Barca fans for generations.
Yet, even with that backdrop, the club still had success in the 40s and 50s.
Surprisingly, yes. Despite the politics, Club de Futbol Barcelona, as they were forced to be called, did well. They won La Liga titles in 45, 48, 49, and their first Copa Latina in 49. That was a big European competition back then.
Who were the key players then?
Guys like Cesar, Ramallets, Velasco were crucial in that period, really talented players.
And then, 1950. The arrival of someone huge, Laszlo Kubala.
Kubala. His signing was transformative.
Yeah.
An absolute phenomenal player skill, charisma, everything. He just lit up the place and led them into a really exciting new era.
There's a statue of him outside Camp Nou now, right?
There is, yeah. Shows you his importance.
And there's that amazing story about the tram strike in '51. Fans walking home.
Yes. It's such a powerful example of Meisken Club. There was a tram strike in Barcelona over fare hikes. After a Barca match, fans just decided en masse to walk home instead of taking the trams.
Have a protest?
As solidarity with the strikers, it was spontaneous, powerful, showed the club embodying these broader progressive values standing against the authorities. Apparently, it really surprised the regime.
That is more than a club right there. And this period led to the legendary Barca of the Five Cups.
Exactly, 1952. Under coach Ferdinand Dauchik, with Kubala stirring, they won everything. La Liga, Copa del Generalissimo, the Copa Latina again, Copa Eva Duarte, Copa Martini, and Rossi, 5 trophies. And they backed it up in '53, winning La Liga and the Copa again. So yeah, even under Franco, they found ways to succeed and, crucially, to represent something more.
The symbol of resilience, really.
Definitely. Navigating this hostile political world while still being brilliant on the pitch and meaning so much to the Catalan people.
Then comes the late '50s. And the move to the Camp Nou. Huge ambition, but also financial strain.
The Camp Nou opening in '57 was massive, a symbol of how big the club had become. But yeah, building something on that scale cost a fortune. It meant they had to tighten the purse strings for a while, less money for big signings.
But they still had success even with those constraints. End of the '50s, early '60s?
They did. Under the famous coach Helenio Herrera, they had some great moments. A young Luis Suarez emerged. He won the Ballon d'Or in 1960, the first Barca player ever to do so.
Ah, Luis Suarez, the original one.
Exactly. And they had those great Hungarian players, Kushis and Cibor. They won a domestic double in '59 League and Cup, and then a League and Fairs Cup double in '60.
Fairs Cup. That was like the precursor to the Europa League.
Sort of, yeah. An important European trophy back then showed they were still competing internationally.
And they beat Real Madrid in the European Cup in '61. That must have felt good.
Oh, huge psychological boost. Real Madrid had dominated the early European Cups, so being the first team to knock them out was massive for Barca.
But they didn't win the final.
No, unfortunately. They lost to Benfica in the final that year. Close, but not quite.
So the '60s overall, a bit tougher. Real Madrid still dominant.
Generally, yes. It was a less consistently successful decade for Barca. Real Madrid were very strong domestically and in Europe. And those financial limitations from building the Camp Nou probably didn't help Barca compete at the very top level consistently.
Still had some good players coming through, though.
Oh, yeah. Players like Fuste and Rexach emerged, and they did win the Copa del Generalissimo in '63 and another Fairs Cup in '66. So not trophyless, but maybe not hitting the heights of the '50s.
But there was that symbolic Copa win in '68 against Real Madrid, in front of Franco.
That was a big one. Winning 1-0 at the Bernabeu in the Copa final. Hugely symbolic. And the coach then, Salvador Artigas, he had actually been a Republican pilot in the Civil War.
Wow, that adds another layer. A quiet statement.
Exactly, a moment of real pride for the Catalan fans.
Then Franco dies in '75. A massive moment for Spain, and for Barca too, presumably.
Oh, absolutely. The end of the dictatorship brought huge changes. For Barca, it meant they could finally go back to their original name, Football Club Barcelona.
Yeah, the crest.
Back to the original design, too, with the Catalan flag restored. A really powerful moment, reclaiming their identity after decades of suppression. Huge celebrations.
And right around that time, a certain Dutchman arrives, Johan Cruyff.
Cruyff, 1973-74 season, world record fee. His arrival was just game-changing. He was already a global superstar.
And he chose Barca over Real Madrid.
Explicitly. He famously said he wouldn't play for a club associated with Franco. That instantly made him a hero in Barcelona.
And he named his son Jordi.
He did. A classic Catalan name. Just deepened that immediate connection with the fans and the culture.
And his impact on the pitch. Immediate.
Absolutely immediate. He led them to their first La Liga title since 1960. Ended a long, long wait.
And that included that famous 5-0 win at the Bernabeu.
A 5-0, yes. An absolute statement victory against Real Madrid in their own stadium. Instantly legendary. And Cruyff himself won the Ballon d'Or in '73 and '74 while at Barca. He wasn't just a player, he was an icon, a symbol of this new era.
Moving into the late '70s, early '80s, Josep Luis Núñez becomes president. A long reign starts there.
Núñez's election in '78 was significant. He was the first president actually elected by the members, the socios. This mirrored Spain's own move to democracy.
What was his focus?
Stability, mainly. Financial stability, stability on the pitch. He brought in stricter policies, more centralized control, sometimes controversial, but he aimed for long-term strength.
And he's the one behind La Masia, the youth academy.
Yes, acquiring that old farmhouse, La Masia, in 1979 and turning it into the academy, that was incredibly visionary. The impact that had on Barca's future, its whole philosophy, immense.
And they won a European trophy again in '79.
They did. The European Cup Winners' Cup beat Fortuna Düsseldorf in the final in Basel. Huge traveling support, over 30,000 fans. A great moment back winning in Europe.
Then came Maradona in '82, another huge star.
Massive excitement around Maradona signing another world record fee. He showed flashes of absolute genius, helped them win a Copa del Rey, but his time was short. Injuries, illness, off-field stuff. He left after just 2 seasons.
Still, success followed under Terry Venables, league title in '85.
Yes, Venables won La Liga, which was big, and they reached the European Cup final in '86 in Seville.
But lost that one.
Agonizingly, yes. On penalties to Steaua Bucuresti, a really bitter disappointment after getting so close.
This era also saw the rise of the Buenos Noirs supporters group. Sounds complicated.
It was. Initially, they had sort of left-wing Catalan nationalist leanings, often critical of Núñez, but later, the group got infiltrated by far-right elements, leading to divisions and problems, a complex dynamic within the fan base.
And then player revolt. The Hesperia Mutiny. Sounds dramatic.
It was. End of the 87-88 season, a large group of players publicly went against Núñez over various issues. But incredibly, despite all that turmoil, they still went on to win the Copa del Rey final. Show some resilience, but it was a fractured time.
But then, 1988, someone very familiar returns, Cruyff, as manager this time.
The return of Cruyff as manager, this changes everything. He brings his total football philosophy and builds the legendary Dream Team.
The Dream Team.
Who was in it? A brilliant mix. La Masia graduates who understood his system, Guardiola, Bakero, Bajurstein, and world-class international stars Koeman, Laudrup, Romario, Stoichkov. The football they played, revolutionary.
And Guardiola emerging then really shows the value of that La Masia investment Núñez made years earlier.
Absolutely. Guardiola was the perfect midfield general for Cruyff's system, came right through the academy, embodied the philosophy, and of course later, he took it to another level as manager himself.
And the Dream Team success was just phenomenal, right? Domestic dominance, and finally the big one in Europe.
Utter dominance. 4 La Liga titles in a row, 91 to 94, and crucially, finally, they won the European Cup. Wembley, 1992, their first ever. Plus another Cup Winners' Cup in '89, Copa del Rey. Just trophy after trophy.
Cruyff became the most successful manager they'd ever had.
At that time, yes. 11 major trophies, set a new benchmark.
But it didn't end smoothly between Cruyff and Núñez.
No. 2 strong personalities inevitably clashed. They had a major falling out, and Cruyff left. It was controversial, split opinions. Led to that protest group, L'Elephant Blau, challenging Núñez. A young Joan Laporta was part of that, interestingly.
After Cruyff, a bit of managerial turnover. Robson, Van Gaal.
Yeah, Bobby Robson came in for just 1 season, 96-97. Did really well, actually won a cup treble. Had the original Ronaldo tearing it up.
Ronaldo Nazario. Incredible season.
But Robson was seen as temporary until Louis van Gaal was free. Van Gaal came in, won a league and cup double in '98, won the league again in '99 for the centenary. Rivaldo won the Ballon d'Or then, too.
Sounds successful.
Domestically, yes. But the lack of Champions League success under Van Gaal ultimately led to him leaving, and Núñez finally resigned too in 2000. A bit of a turbulent end to his long presidency.
And 2000, the year of that transfer. Luis Figo to Real Madrid.
Oh, Figo. That still stings for Barca fans. He was captain, adored. Then he goes directly to Real Madrid, seen as the ultimate betrayal.
The reaction was intense, wasn't it? The pig's head.
Infamously, yes. His returns to the Camp Nou were incredibly hostile. That incident became legendary, unfortunately. A really bitter moment.
The years right after Figo left. Sounds like instability set in. Lots of managers, poor results.
It was a tough spell. Managers came and went quickly. Sarah Ferrer, Rexach again. Van Gaal came back briefly. Antich. The team struggled. League form wasn't great. Felt like a club adrift. Eventually, President Gaspart resigned under pressure.
But then, 2003, a turning point. Enter Joan Laporta as president. Frank Rijkaard as manager.
Yes, Laporta's arrival brought a real buzz, a new energy. And Rijkaard provided calm leadership. They brought in fantastic players, Ronaldinho, Deco, Eto'o.
Ronaldinho magic.
Absolute magic. And they blended these stars with amazing homegrown talent that was coming through Puyol, Xavi, Iniesta, Valdez. It just clicked, laid the foundations for a big comeback.
And the trophies started returning. Mid-2000s.
They did, back-to-back La Liga titles in 05 and 06, plus the Supercopa, and the big one, the Champions League in 2006, beating Arsenal in Paris.
Their first since '92.
Huge, massive, and Ronaldinho was just untouchable then. Won FIFA World Player of the Year twice. Best in the world, no question.
That moment at the Bernabeu,
Mm-hmm.
getting applauded by Real Madrid fans, unbelievable.
That 3-0 win, Ronaldinho's performance, it transcended rivalry. For Madrid fans to stand and applaud him just shows how special he was. Pure joy to watch.
But the seasons after that '06 win, things dipped a bit. Injuries, conflicts.
Yeah, the momentum stalled a bit. The 2006-07 season was trophyless. Key players got injured. There were rumors of dressing room issues. Messi scored that incredible Maradona-esque goal, but consistency wasn't there. Lost the Club World Cup final, too.
And '07-08 wasn't much better. Led to Rijkaard leaving.
Pretty much. I
Yeah.
finished third in the league, knocked out of the cups in the semis. Laporta decided a change was needed, and he made a really bold call, appointing Pep Guardiola, the B-team coach.
Guardiola, relatively inexperienced then, wasn't he?
Very at the top level. But Laporta saw something, and, well, what followed was arguably the greatest era in the club's history.
The Guardiola era, 2008 to 2012. Tiki-taka. Just, wow.
Guardiola came in with such a clear vision, deeply rooted in that La Masia Cruyffian style, made big calls, sold Ronaldinho, sold Deco, built everything around Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi, gave them the stage.
And that first season, '08-09, the treble.
Historic.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Won the Copa del Rey, stormed to the La Liga title, including that 6-2 demolition of Real Madrid at the Bernabeu.
6-2, iconic.
And then won the Champions League. The first ever treble for a Spanish club. Just breathtaking football.
And they didn't stop there.
Yeah.
Went on to win 6 trophies in 2009.
The sextuple. Added the Spanish Super Cup, UEFA Super Cup, and the FIFA Club World Cup. All 6 available trophies in a calendar year. Unprecedented. Total dominance.
And the success just kept rolling. More leagues, another Champions League.
Incredible consistency. Won La Liga again in 2010 with a record 99 points. Won the Super Cup again. Then came the 2010 World Cup win for Spain, heavily featuring La Masia players.
Right, 7 academy players in the final. Iniesta scoring the winner.
Showed the quality pouring out of the academy. And then that 5-0 El Clasico win in November 2010, just a masterpiece.
A Ballon d'Or that year.
Yeah.
Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, all La Masia.
Unbelievable. Top 3 players in the world, all from the same academy. A unique moment in football history. Testament to La Masia. And the next season, another La Liga title and another Champions League, beating Manchester United convincingly at Wembley again.
Fabregas came back too during this time.
He did. Added even more quality. They won more Super Cups, another Club World Cup in 2011. Guardiola racked up the trophies, became their most successful ever manager.
Sir Alex Ferguson said they mesmerize you with their passing. High praise.
Sums it up perfectly. Widely regarded as one of the greatest teams of all time. Just incredible to watch.
But Guardiola left in 2012. Why?
He cited burnout, needing a break. It was intense. They lost the Champions League semi to Chelsea that year, which was a blow. But he finished by winning the Copa del Rey, his 14th trophy in 4 years. An incredible run.
And his assistant Tito Villanova took over.
Yes, Tito stepped up, kept momentum going initially, won La Liga in 2012-13 with 100 points. Messi scored 46 league goals that season, just insane numbers.
But tragically, Tito had to step down due to illness.
Devastatingly sad, yes. His cancer returned, a huge loss. Gerardo Tata Martino came in for a season after that.
Then came Luis Enrique and MSN.
Luis Enrique arrived, and suddenly you had Messi, Suarez, and Neymar Jr. up front. MSN, one of the most lethal attacking trios ever assembled.
Their numbers were crazy, weren't they?
Absolutely bonkers. In their first season together, 2014-15, they scored 122 goals between them and fired Barca to another treble. La Liga, Copa del Rey, Champions League.
A second treble. The first club ever to do
There's
that.
a European club. Yes, just phenomenal achievement. And they weren't done.
More trophies with MSN.
Oh, yeah. Won the UEFA Super Cup, the Club World Cup again in 2015, set a record for goals in a calendar year, and MSN broke their own record the next season, scoring 131 goals. Won La Liga again, too, set a club record 39-game unbeaten run. Just thrilling attacking football.
And La Remontada. The PSG comeback.
Unforgettable. 2017 Champions League, lost 4-0 in Paris, look impossible. Then won 6-1 at Camp Nou in the dying moments. One of the most incredible comebacks ever seen, pure drama.
But after Luis Enrique left, under Ernesto Valverde, more league titles, but problems in Europe.
Valverde delivered domestically, winning back-to-back La Liga titles, set a league unbeaten record. But yeah, those Champions League exits were painful, losing big first leg leads against Roma, then Liverpool. That hurt the fans and probably undermined him.
And the political situation in Catalonia was impacting the club too, playing behind closed doors.
Yes, the match against Las Palmas during the 2017 referendum was played with no fans. A very strange, tense situation, highlighted those ongoing off-field pressures.
Valverde eventually left mid-season in 2020, then Setien, then Koeman. Felt like things were unraveling a bit. And the finances.
It did feel like a decline. Results were inconsistent under Setien and then Koeman, who came in during a really difficult period. The 2019-20 season was trophyless. And yeah, the financial situation, which had been building, really started to bite, especially with COVID hitting. President Bartomeu resigned under huge pressure in late 2020.
Laporta returns in 2021, hope renewed. But then, Messi leaves.
Laporta's return brought optimism, definitely, but the financial hole was just too deep. Over €1 billion in debt, a crippling wage bill. They simply couldn't afford to re-register Messi under La Liga's financial rules.
So he had to leave.
Yeah.
After 21 years. Just unbelievable.
Seismic. Heartbreaking for everyone associated with the club. Huge financial and emotional fallout. The end of an era, truly.
So the post-Messi era, rebuilding under Xavi.
Exactly. Koeman was sacked and Xavi, another club legend, came in. It was tough initially. They dropped into the Europa League, but he steadied the ship, improved their league form massively.
And they won the league last season, 2023.
They did. Won the Supercopa first, then secured their 27th La Liga title, the first major trophy since Messi left. A really important step, showed signs of recovery and a path forward.
And now, February 2025. Hansi Flick is the manager. More changes.
Yeah, Xavi left, and Flick, the former Bayern in Germany coach, has taken over. So still very much a period of transition. They're navigating those financial issues, trying to build a competitive team.
And the stadium. Camp Nou is being rebuilt.
Yes, the huge Espai Barça project is underway. Massive redevelopment of Camp Nou and the whole area. Long-term vision. They're playing at the Olympic Stadium Montjuic for now, aiming to get back to a partially reopened Camp Nou later this year.
And that big Nike deal just announced.
Oh.
Must help financially.
Oh, definitely. Reportedly the biggest kit deal in football history. A much-needed boost for their finances and long-term stability.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit. Beyond the pitch, that make un club idea. It's so tied to Catalan culture, identity.
Absolutely fundamental. You can't understand Barça without understanding its role as a symbol for Catalonia, especially during times like the Franco dictatorship when Catalan culture was suppressed. The club became a safe space, an expression of identity.
And the nickname Coolers, where on earth did that come from?
It's a great story. Comes from the Catalan word cul, meaning, well, backside.
Seriously.
Yeah. At their old stadium, Camp de la Industria, fans sitting on the top wall had their backsides visible from outside. So people started calling them the coolers, the ones showing their backsides, and it just stuck.
That's brilliant. And the fan base today is just enormous, global. Members, fan clubs everywhere.
Hundreds of thousands of socios, the members who actually own the club, and then the painies, the official fan clubs, are all over the world. Plus a massive social media following, truly global reach.
And the rivalries. We have to talk El Clasico. Real Madrid. More than just football, isn't it?
Oh, far more. It's packed with history, politics, culture. Catalonia versus Castile in symbolic terms. You've got Senyol's assassination, the Franco-era influence, the Di Stefano transfer saga back in the 50s, Figo, endless flashpoints. It's arguably the biggest club match in the world.
What about the local derby against Espanyol?
El Derby Barcelona. It has its own history, often with political undertones too, different perspectives on Catalan identity. Historically, there's been an anti-Barça feeling from parts of the Espanyol support. Barça dominates the head-to-head, so it's not as balanced, but it's still a big game locally.
And in Europe.
Yeah.
Any standout rivalries? AC Milan.
Milan is definitely a classic European rival. They've played each other so many times in big Champions League games. That crushing 4-0 loss in the '94 final for Barca's dream team. That still hurts. Lots of history, lots of mutual respect between two giants.
The ownership structure is pretty unique too, right? Owned by the members.
It's very unique for a club of its size. It's a registered association owned by the socios. They elect the president, vote on big decisions, creates a real sense of community ownership, very different from most big clubs, which are private companies or owned by billionaires or states.
Financially, they've been a giant, but facing challenges recently, as we discussed.
Historically, yes, always near the top for revenue and value. But the massive debt accumulated under Bartomeu plus COVID created a really difficult situation they're still working through. That said, their commercial power, like leading kit sales in Europe last year, shows the brand is still incredibly strong.
And Barca's cultural impact, beyond sport, art, literature, music.
Deeply woven into Catalan culture. Inspired writers like Montalban, poets, famous artists like Miro, Tapiz, Dali were fan or involved. Musicians like Serrat. There's the Barça Cultura initiative now, too, actively promoting culture. It really is embedded in the fabric of the region.
And the records. Messi holds so many, but the club itself, the sextuple La Masia.
Just tons of records. Messi's goals and appearances, obviously. Guardiola's most successful coach, most decorated player, Messi again. The Barça de la Saint Coupe in 52, the sextuple in 09. La Masia consistently ranked as a top academy worldwide. Huge transfer fees paid and received. An incredible list.
The kits and crest, the Blaugrana colors. Any definitive reason for blue and Barnet?
There are a few theories, actually. One links back to Joan Gamper's previous club in Switzerland, FC Basel. Another suggests inspiration from school sports teams. No single story is 100% confirmed, which adds a bit of mystery. The crest has evolved but kept those core elements. And the kits, iconic designs, that long Nike partnership, the shift from no sponsor to UNICEF, then commercial deals like Qatar, Rakuten, now Spotify, tells a story in itself.
In the anthem, Cant del Barça. So powerful before games.
Written for the 75th anniversary in 1974, really captures that sense of unity, pride, Catalan identity. Hearing that sung by a full Camp Nou, it's genuinely spine-tingling, an essential part of the match-day ritual.
Finally, the stadiums. From that first ground to Lecor, then the immense Camp Nou.
Each move reflects the club's growth. Camp de la Industria, then Lecor getting bigger and bigger, and finally Camp Nou, biggest in Europe, an icon. Now undergoing that huge renovation, the Espai Barça project, while they play temporarily at Montjuic, plus the modern training ground, the academy, the Estadio Johan Cruyff for the B team. Impressive facilities.
So wrapping this all up, it's a club owned by its members, deeply tied to Catalan identity, incredible highs on the pitch, resilience through tough political and financial times. More than a club really does seem to capture it.
It absolutely does. It's a story that's so much richer than just football results. It's about culture, identity, community, survival, and yes, often spectacular football too.
For me, that quirky origin of the coupler nickname, that's definitely one I'll remember. Just brilliant.
It's a great one, isn't it? Grounds the global giant in its humble beginnings. I also think Cruyff's deliberate choice to join Barça over Madrid for explicitly political reasons that really highlights how intertwined sport and politics have been throughout their history.
So the final thought for everyone listening, what is the lasting legacy of a club like Barça? Beyond the trophies, how does that cultural impact truly measure up against the sporting success? And how will it keep evolving?
That's the big question, isn't it? Its influence clearly goes way beyond sport, shaping identity, bringing people together, representing ideals. It's a legacy built on far more than just winning games. Something to really think about.
Absolutely. And if we've sparked your interest today, and hopefully we have, definitely dive deeper. Pick an era, a figure, a rivalry. There is just so many fascinating stories within the history of FC Barcelona.